Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Friday, happy Saturday, wherever you are in the world. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Let's Finally Talk. And our topic is when you realize you've outgrown the conversation. So if you are here for the first time, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. I do have a whole series of episodes I've already recorded and live streamed, and you can find them on our YouTube channels, which are here, USA Global TV and Radio, and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. So let's get into it. Today, we're going to explore a quiet but powerful realization that many people experience as they grow. As we invest in ourselves personally and professionally, it's the moment you recognize that certain conversations no longer fit who you are. Now, I just want to set the stage for this. This isn't about anyone being right or anyone being superior, or anyone being better or more intelligent or disengaged. This is just a reflection of what typically happens when we start to work on ourselves and doing that inner work to help us find peace. So if you're not aware, I am a peace ambassador, and I really do believe that we each deserve the opportunity to have that inner peace. We've earned it, and collectively we can be part of world peace. So what do you have to do in order to have this happen? You don't have to correct anything. You don't have to participate in every exchange. Sometimes growing simply means that you're listening differently, or you're not listening at all. I want you to think back to a conversation that you've had, maybe with someone that you know, you've had the same conversation, and all of a sudden, one day, it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't sit right. Maybe you don't have anything to say about it, but you definitely have lost interest. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't care. That doesn't mean that you're disengaged. It just means that you've moved to a different level, not a better level, not a superior level, but a different level in your journey of growth. And one of the areas that I think is so easy for us to relate to is the area of gossip. When we have not worked on ourselves, or maybe when we're not even realizing that we have work to do, because we all have work to do on ourselves. That's how we evolve as people. We might be prone to gossip, talking about other people behind their back, secretly wishing people would fail. And these things, these thought patterns are coming from a place of negativity and fear. But as we work on ourselves, we're more focused on how we can give back, how we can make the world a better place, what we can do to contribute, as opposed to wishing someone ill, as opposed to being angry, as opposed to being disengaged. We start feeling like, okay, I am here for a short period of time and I want to spend my time in a productive way. I know people who will actually walk out of conversations when other people start to gossip. Or I know one person who has said that she will actually say, why don't we call the person that you're talking about and ask them to be part of the conversation? Because it no longer fits for her. So think about how much of your time are you spending gossiping about other people? Because those same people are most likely gossiping about you. So this is not a show about judgment. This is a show about when you feel that switch. Do you no longer want to be part of gossip? You don't want to hear people talking badly about someone else. You don't want to be part of the movement to put other people down. This can be a very subtle but distinct shift. And when you realize this shift, it can be an awkward feeling because you think, oh my gosh, I've actually seen this person that I've known in a different light. And I don't think I can be party to it anymore. I don't think I can be part of it. I don't think I want to have conversations. And that can be frightening because we are used to having this certain set of behavior. One person says one thing, one person says another thing, and now all of a sudden you're not participating. You're not finding the stories funny. You're not interested in putting other people down. And you silently say to yourself, I don't know what's happening, but I know I don't feel the same. This is emotional intelligence. This is you being aware of the fact that something has dramatically shifted. And I would say, congratulate yourself that you are moving into another dimension where you are focused on coming from a place of love. So, as I've mentioned before, we can come from love or we can come from fear. That fear is what is at the core of when we're gossiping or putting other people down. But when we're coming from a place of love, we want to lift people up. We want to offer our assistance. We want to be there as a cheerleader. Now, if this is resonating with you, I'm really happy. If it's not resonating with you, then I understand that maybe you're not in the same place. And there's no judgment because we're all on our own journey. But I want to thank you for coming by and saying hello. If you haven't done so yet, I'd love to hear from you. And I love positive comments, by the way, because I'm not interested in negativity. I will just delete your comments. That's just how it goes here. So let's move on with the topic. When you feel this shift, this knowing that it doesn't feel right for you to have these conversations, or you don't really want to be in this person's company anymore, what is it you can do? Do you immediately say, oh my gosh, you know what? I can't stand what you're talking about. I don't like who you are. I wouldn't suggest it because now you're judging someone. So I always talk about the fact that we all have choice. You can just choose to go a different way with your life. You don't have to get together with the person as often. Maybe you have other people there when you're getting together. Maybe you just change the topic. Maybe just focus on the person who is making the comments and giving them grace. I really believe that by giving people grace and being compassionate and being kind, even if they might not necessarily have earned it, is a good thing to do. It's a beautiful thing to do because maybe no one else in their life is giving them compassion. And so you can be the change. You could be a change agent. Today, we're talking about this marker of growth. It's about recognizing when you no longer need to participate in certain conversations. Now, I know today, depending on where you are in the world, this can be a very emotionally charged day with things that are going on in the country. And you can participate wherever you are in the world, I should say. You can participate from a peaceful place, or you can choose a different way of participating. What I found is, and what research has shown, is that as people mature emotionally and internally, that urge to explain, correct, or engage, it starts to diminish. Now, one thing that I want to raise my hand and share is that when I was younger, I would correct people on their spelling. I would say, oh no, you wrote that down, that's not correct. Or when they're speaking, their grammar, and I would say, you ended the sentence with a preposition, or they said something and they used foul language. And then all of a sudden one day I'm like, why am I correcting people? Who am I? Who appointed me to correct people? It's too much work. It's not rewarding. And the most important thing is no one asked for it. So by taking that step back and saying to myself, I no longer have to be involved in correcting someone because I have no right to correct anyone. No one asked me to correct them. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. Once we start explaining, and I talked about this yesterday, sometimes we end up going into over explaining because the person doesn't relate to what our explanation is. So now we're expanding upon it. We're expounding upon it. We are giving more information about our explanation. But the truth is, the other person doesn't really care. They don't care because they're only listening so they can respond. And so maybe it's a situation where they just want to object to whatever it is that you're saying. We don't have to participate in these conversations. We get a choice. So if you're out there and you understand what I'm saying, you've had this moment where there's a shift. I'd love to know, how has your life changed as a result of that? Are you doing something differently? Are you thinking differently? Are you making decisions that you wouldn't have made before? When we're involved in conversations that are based on gossip, that takes up a lot of time. And it's wasted time, useless time. You can actually shift into moving away from those kinds of conversations. And when you do, you will see what starts to open up for you, because typically like-minded people surround themselves with like-minded people. So if you're in a circle where you're spending your time gossiping and putting other people down, that's probably who you spend your time with. But when you realize this is not productive, and who am I to insult anyone? Who am I to talk about anyone? I need to work on me. That's one thing we all have in common, is we all have time. And we have time to work on ourselves, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it might be. We're all on our own journey. So when we've outgrown the conversation, we notice that the conversation feels draining. It might even feel repetitive. And here's a topic that falls into this category, the topic of money. I had lunch with someone who said to me, people like to talk about money and it's so boring. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean? And what he said was, money comes and money goes. And sometimes we have enough money and sometimes we don't have enough money. Sometimes we have an abundance and sometimes we're desperate. Into every life, some rain shall fall. So depending on where you are in your trajectory of your life or your professional accomplishments, or maybe you're even retired, that conversation of money can be repetitive or even draining. And we don't feel compelled to even talk about it anymore. You might be at a place in your life where you don't want to talk about money, but the other person only wants to talk about money. Guess what? You get a choice. You can say, I'm really sorry, but I don't want to talk about money. We can talk about any other number of things. But yet the person wants to keep going back there. So what would you do? Make a decision not to have conversations with that person anymore. Tell that person, I've already shared with you, I don't want to talk about money. And if you want to talk about something else, that's terrific. Here's another topic that can get repetitive. And again, depending on what age you are, I'm 62 now, and I've noticed that a lot of the conversations are about people's illnesses, which in every life, some rain shall fall. So I've got illnesses. I'm sure that most of us have something in our life, but it also can be boring. It also can be draining because we're not able to do something for the other person. We can let them know, hey, I'm here for you. But let's talk about some upbeat things. So keep in mind, notice what's coming up for you when you're having conversations. Are you feeling drained? And never feel like you're compelled to respond. Here's an important difference. There's a major difference between losing interest in something and gaining clarity. I like to look at things from the positive perspective. So you can say, well, I find that person boring. That's a judgment. Or you can say, I've got some clarity now about how I want to spend my time. I've got some clarity now about what I'm thinking about. It's how these internal changes actually affect how we engage with our environment and with others. So we can start to notice this without labeling ourselves, labeling others, or judging others, or even judging ourselves. The whole point of judging is it falls into that category of negative behavior. And yet we all do it. That's why I wrote a book about it. I do it. I'm much more aware of it now than I used to be. So, what I want you to think about is you are not responsible for participating in every conversation. If you happen to be with a group of people and they're talking about things and it doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to engage. Why this feels uncomfortable? Because we're afraid we look like we're distant or dismissive. Have you ever had that feeling? You're in a circle with people, maybe they're talking about politics, and you just don't want to talk about it. So you say nothing. And then someone says, oh, what's up with you? Don't you have anything to say about this? Trying to pinhole you or get you to share something that you don't want to share. You don't have to participate. You don't have to contribute, and you don't have to be rude about it. Sometimes we have these old habits where we want to fill every single second of silence. Or something happens and we want to smooth things over because we don't want to leave things hanging. You've heard that expression, don't go to bed angry. That's based on fear, right? The fear that you won't wake up or the other person won't wake up or something will happen in the middle of the night. So you've got to get everything resolved. That is a personal choice. But what I want you to realize is that silence is where the growth takes place. When we have silence, we're able to process things and come up with an answer. Yesterday, I spoke about external validation, and I think that's something that is important to bring up on a regular basis. When we are looking for other people to validate who we are, to validate what we think, we are giving away our own power. Now, what am I talking about when I say power? Power is our self-esteem. It's our confidence. It's what empowers us to move forward, to make decisions. We put it out to other people to figure out our path. I don't know about you, but I'm not putting my future out to someone else. I did that many times when I was younger. And now I look back and say, that's something I would have told my younger self, is not to give your power away. So by making these conscious decisions, by seeing these shifts of how you're noticing things, you have a clarity that you may not have had before. And with this clarity, you can do some amazing things because it's that shift into taking your time and your energy and putting it into something that gives you joy. When you think about these conversations, for example, as I mentioned about money, or it could be about health, or it could be about politics, it's kind of something that zaps our energy. Now, I'm not saying never to have the conversation, but when it's a repeat conversation over and over again, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, you can say, you know what? Time out. I'm out of this conversation, and you can change the subject. And if the people you're speaking with, if they're receptive and they're also on a growth mission, or they're coming from a place of love, they probably will be very happy to change the subject. So what changes now that you have this clarity? Well, it's going to change how you actually listen. You'll be able to listen to what someone has to say without thinking about a response. How liberating is that? How much time do we spend in a conversation with someone thinking, Oh, I wonder what I'm supposed to say right now. I wonder what she or he expects of me right now. I wonder if they want my advice. We just listen. We also start to let conversations unfold without inserting ourselves into the conversation. Now, this is something that I call stage hogging. It's basically where there's a conversation taking place about someone, something, and then we put ourselves into the conversation and basically steal the stage from the other person and start talking about ourselves. This typically comes from a place of fear or a place of ego. Once we have that shift into clarity, we let conversations go on and we might not say a single thing. We start to observe the human behavior. If you've ever sat somewhere and you watch people go by, you just observe their behavior as opposed to correcting their behavior. Because again, who named us the person responsible for correcting other people? We have to figure out what we're doing, and we have to do it to the best of our ability before we can go out and say anything to anyone else. So we start observing. We start letting people speak without interrupting them, without trying to direct them, without trying to solve their problems. And the best part is we get to thoughtfully choose when what we have to say and engaging in the conversation is going to bring value. Sometimes listening intently, deeply, actively means we're going to say less. Maybe we won't say anything, but it definitely doesn't mean we're going to be saying more. This is all part of what I have trademarked as elevated listening. And it also goes in alignment with the 3 questions that I ask you to think before you speak. I do it all the time. Before we speak, before we write, before we phone. Is what we have to say kind? Is it necessary? And is it true? And in terms of is it true, is it your truth or is it the actual truth? Are you taking what you believe to be the truth and packaging it up as the actual truth when in reality it's not? By asking ourselves these 3 questions, we can actually know when our speaking is going to add value and when it doesn't. We will be able to trust our intuition as opposed to be relying on external validation and what we think is expected of us. We will feel comfortable in the silence. And we will choose being in alignment with who we are and what we believe over reacting. The takeaway from this section is not every single moment calls for us to speak. Now, I am speaking quite a lot because I'm on a TV show. There's no one here. So if I was just silent and not saying anything, you probably would leave and wonder, why isn't she saying anything? So this doesn't apply if you are a TV show host doing a show by yourself. It absolutely applies if you are doing a show with someone else. We want to hear from the other person. We just ask intelligent questions to get people to think. So what's the next step? Elevated listening, as I mentioned, it's listening without interruption. It's listening without problem solving. It's listening without stage hogging, and it's listening without judgment. Here are some of the key takeaways that I want you to leave with from this episode of Let's Finally Talk Today. When you realize that you have outgrown a conversation, you're not being mean. You're not rejecting the other person or persons. It's just no longer in alignment with who you are. And I ask you from an emotional intelligence standpoint, you don't have to convey this to the other person. You know what? I'm really bored talking to you, or your conversation is really boring. You're putting someone down and it's not going to go well. You can just have that quiet insight to say to yourself, I see something shifted. This isn't working for me anymore. Because when we have that emotional intelligence or that maturity, it can be quiet. It can be dignified. It doesn't have to be loud and bold. That comes from a place of ego or even a place of fear where we have to let the other person know, hey, by the way, this is what I've come up with. I am not really interested in what you have to say anymore because I've outgrown you, because that. It's not going to go over well. You can just retreat silently and decide how and when you want to spend time with this person. You can still be present even though you're not engaging. And that's elevated listening. Listening and being completely and totally present. Right now, I am not thinking of anything I'm supposed to say to you. I am not thinking like, oh my gosh, what if I can't think of anything? I'm just here speaking to you extemporaneously about a subject that I have a lot of passion about, because I truly feel that even though we are gifted with 2 ears, we're not doing our job of listening. We're doing a job of judging. We're doing a job of criticizing. And so my wish for you is that you will take something that you learn from this show and you will practice it in your own life. And I always say this when I teach courses in person or I teach master classes, I will say, whatever value you get from this show or from any show that you might happen to see or a podcast you might listen to, keep it inside and process it. Sit with it, as opposed to going to your loved ones and trying to show them how intelligent you are because you watched the TV show. It's not going to go over well, and it's not going to help you in the journey that you're on, because each of us have a journey and it's a personal journey. And so by being able to take our emotions and put them to the side and say, you know what's coming up for me? I just got together with XYZ and I realized I'm not really that interested in what they're talking about, because I feel like my interests lie elsewhere. Now, I just want to clarify, does that mean because you're interested in X and someone's interested in Y that you can't have a conversation? Absolutely not. I love hearing other perspectives from people. I'm very curious about how people process things and what they think. But what I am highly bored with are conversations about politics, about money, about negativity, and about gossip. So if you want to have a conversation with me and talk about any of those, I'm not going to be interested. And you'll be able to see I'm not interested. Each of us have different things that we're aligned with, but there are so many other things that are exciting. So look at what's coming up for you. Look at what resonates with you and what you feel is important that you want to discuss. And when you're in circles with people, you might even just meet someone and they start talking about something that you are just not interested in. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have a difference of opinion. So let me go back to politics. Some people love to talk about politics. So you might be in one party or you might be in another party. That doesn't mean that you can't be interested in what the other person has to say. But if the other person's constantly talking about politics and you've said, listen, I don't really want to spend our whole conversation talking about that, and they want to continue, you realize to yourself, you know what? I really can't talk with so-and-so anymore because that's all they want to talk about. So thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the comments that we have. Let's see what we do have. I got to say, your description and your channel is some top-notch BS. Wow, I'm impressed at the elite level of world salad you've created. Okay, you know what? Thanks for sharing that, Raslin. Raslin is obviously someone who likes to perpetuate negativity. And so, you know what I say to you, Raslin? I wish you grace. And I'd say goodbye to you on our channel. Goodbye. So thank you for those who share nice things. And thank you for those. We do have some nice comments. I appreciate that. We are closing out though. So I will leave you with this. By keeping yourself in a framework of positivity and surrounding yourself with other positive people, you will accomplish amazing things in this world. When you surround yourself with negativity, when you are motivated by anger and by putting other people down and gossiping, then that's not the best place in the world to be. So for any of you going through that, I wish you kindness and empathy and compassion. Thanks for being here. We'll be back with our next show. Take care and have a beautiful weekend wherever you are.
In a noisy world, true connection begins with listening. Elevated listening transforms every conversation in just 5 simple steps. Pause and breathe. Set your intention. Listen with curiosity. Reflect back. Agree on one next step. Join the Listening Mentor on Let's Finally Talk with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, where we help you find inner peace, one conversation at a time. Streaming every day. Let's Finally Talk TV show with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, only here on USA, Global TV and Radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channels to watch and engage with all our content.
Listen, babe, now, listen, babe, now. Listen, babe, now, listen, babe, now. Listen, babe, now, listen, babe, now.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.